Welcome to Exploring Mystère, where presence meets enchantment and the unseen stirs into existence. I'm Stephanie Foley, your guide into the wilds of wonder, where curiosity meets intuition, embodied wisdom, and ancient mystery systems. Each episode opens a portal. So, take a breath. Let your senses soften. Suspend disbelief and enter with me into the mystery. The mystery and the unseen can actually help us quite a lot when everything feels out of control. About 20 years ago, my sister died in a snowmobile accident completely unexpectedly, and we were grief-stricken. And I read every book about communicating with spirits, began doing journal writing in one of her old journals where I would write to her and then I would pretend I was her and write back, and started to experiment with what would it be like to channel. And I was in therapy, and my therapist recommended that I actually see a medium. It was funny. She said, you know what therapists do when they need help? Sometimes they'll see a psychic medium. I thought, all right, this will be my first time doing something of that nature. And I did, and it was an amazing experience. And one of the messages that came through when the psychic medium connected with my sister was to watch for dimes, that she would leave dimes for the people that she loved, in particular her children. So to tell them to watch for dimes, among many other wonderful little things to watch for, little clues about how to tap into beyond the veil. But the dimes comes into play at this juncture in life, because now 20 years later, I have so many dime stories to tell. But the most recent one is just unbelievable and amazing and so uplifting. I just know that in these times when our world feels so out of control, I just want to share an uplifting story. So dimes. All right. So first off, why dimes and not pennies? Because the medium was like, yeah, it's like pennies from heaven. But for whatever reason, she says dimes because we're not going to mess around with pennies. And I said, well, I know exactly why that was. We were at the store one time and we got to the checkout, and my sister was buying something and discovered that there was some other brand of it that was 10 cents cheaper, but it was way at the back of the store. And I remember distinctly telling her, I will give you a dime if you don't go and exchange it, and if we can just leave. Because to me, it wasn't worth going all the way to the back of the store for a dime. So anyway, years later, we lost her to this accident, and sure enough, like my stepmom got a dime. My nieces and nephews got dimes. Everyone was getting dimes except for me, and I started to feel mopey and a bit of a pity party, like, why aren't I getting dimes? And that night I went to bed and on my pillow was a perfect little almond. Like, what? How did this almond get on my pillow? And I searched the house high and low. I'm like, do we have a bag of almonds somewhere? Like, do I have a mouse, or did my cats, or what? How? There was not an almond in the entire house. I had some slivered almonds, but this was a single whole almond right in the middle of my pillow. What? How? Right? The message came loud and clear, like I could hear it. What are you, some kind of nut? Of course I'm thinking of you. Of course you're going to get dimes. I just get chilled up just even thinking about it. So then from there on, I started collecting dimes, and I literally have hundreds and hundreds of dimes. Crazy places like airport security. You put all your stuff in the bin, right? You get through the other side. You take all your stuff out, and there's a dime. There's just a random dime. Things like when my kiddo is off to an interview, they're walking through the parking lot and look down and they send me a picture. Look what I found. You're not going to believe what I found. Things like my niece, my sister's daughter, and I go to visit my dad, and we get out to the courtyard to sit down and have a cup of coffee. And I look at the table. I don't see anything on the table. I sit at the table, and straight in front of me, randomly, outdoors on like a picnic table, there's a dime just sitting there. So I have all these wild dime stories, right? Well, fast forward to November of 2025, and we end up in the children's hospital. Well, first I should say that another family member had an urgent thing. We had a whole series of things happen that during that time frame, so I'm getting distracted. But another, my sister, I have a different sister. She found a dime that rolled out from underneath the car seat after getting her husband picked up from an emergency room visit. So anyway, back to my story about in November of 2025, my kiddo had appendicitis, and we had to go into Seattle Children's Hospital, and we were there for about a week. And they have this beautiful meditation center, and I really enjoyed going around and seeing all the different, they had like little stations, little displays. One was a wreath where you could tie on a ribbon for in memory of a loved one. Of course, I put one on for my sister. And the beautiful views, so you can take in, from an outdoor vantage point, views of Seattle. And there were other things like a vase full of stones that you could take one and then drop it into this water, this other vase. And it was like letting go. And it was from all these different faiths. They had like these little activities you could do. Well, one of them was a wall of, I don't remember what it was called. It was a wall of something. I'll have pictures that I'll see if I can post with where I post this. But it was blank. And at the time that I was there was these Post-it notes on the table and this pen and this blank little wall. And then a box sitting there. And the box was like overflowing with Post-it notes. So like somebody had just cleared off the wall and put them all in there. So I took a new Post-it note. I thought, I'll get the wall going, because like nobody wants to be the first person to put in something on a blank wall. And the pen was just terrible. Like I'm scribbling. My thing is so scribbly. And I posted it up there. And then I made it a point to, before when we were about to be discharged from the hospital, I was like, I have to get a pen. I ran around and I found some pens, and I replaced pens in different places in this meditation center, so that it's easy for people to do exactly what I did, because it's so helpful when you're going through this stressful time. And then we went home and went on with our lives. And my sister's like, "Where was your dime?" I'm like, "I didn't get a dime." Well, a week later, we got to be home for a week, and then my kiddo had an infection set in, and we were back in Seattle Children's for another full week. And toward the end of that stay, my kiddo was ready to get up and be around, and I said, there's this great like outdoor deck area I can take you up to, this meditation center. And so my husband and my kiddo and I are walking around, and I'm showing them everything, like, look, here's the ribbon I tied on for Auntie Tina, and just walking through, and there's the wall. And we get to that little wall that they had for the Post-it notes, and there was tons of Post-it notes up there, like not as full as the first time like the box was, but the box was totally empty. Like there might have been like one Post-it note in there. And I was just like so happy to see my Post-it note up there, and that other people had, and that the pen was still working. And I had told, my husband and my kiddo this story and everything. And all of a sudden my husband says, "Steffi, look." No, look. And I look, and in the box, there's a dime sitting in this box. Just random dime just sitting there. I'm like, "Oh my God, that's my dime." I'm like, I really want to take this dime. I'm like, I can't take the dime. I'm not going to take the dime out of the box at the meditation center. That feels weird. But that's my dime. So I'm like taking a picture of the dime, and I'm looking around, because you're not supposed to have phones in there. It's supposed to be this, calm place of meditation, right? I'm like, that's my dime. That's my message from my sister. Anyway, so sometimes the truly mysterious and unseen can really help us feel connected to something beyond, when really things feel out of control in the world. And I just wanted to share that story Because if you're feeling like your world is out of control, which I think most of us do right now, lean into the mystery. There's something we don't know yet, and there could be silver linings in it, you know? We can't control these outcomes, but we can have some sovereignty over our own sense of hope. Thank you for joining me on this journey through Exploring Mystère. Remember, you don't have to solve all the mysteries. You only have to wonder what happens when you invite enchantment into your life. Wisdom is always near, shimmering in the spaces between thought and form. So if you felt something stir within you, follow it. I'd love to hear about your dreams, synchronicities, and questions that are part of this living field we are co-creating. To explore further, you can visit us at moonfeatherhollow.com for courses, coaching, and lunar tools like our Dream War of Moonlit Alchemy. This is our guided journal for dream weaving and intuitive reflection. And if Exploring Mystère feels like home, please share it with a fellow seeker or leave a review. Your voice is part of the living field. Until next time, may you walk gently with the mystery and let the shimmer show you the way.